What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video. Hope everybody's doing well, and let's dive straight into things. Hopefully you've watched yesterday's video. If not, do go check it out, and you'll see that today price delivered straight down into our sell side targets, which I delineated, expecting us to reach them later on in the week. So to see this all happen on the Monday is quite surprising. I don't particularly like when weeks do this because it just makes it more difficult and having us have to reanalyze things. But nonetheless, you can see a lot of bearish price action on dollar, and I do still want to see us push into this fair value gap. So if we go back up to the weekly, you'll see there's a fair value gap here, which I spoke about yesterday, and now we've just about tipped the very edge of it today. So moving into tomorrow, I'm anticipating that price will be able to roll over and continue down towards the south side, and then I'll be looking for this fair value gap to actually start getting filled. What I am going to do is I'm going to mark out the midpoint, as that may be a point for price to reach in terms of PD arrays, and then this volume imbalance which we've now closed below on the daily, sorry. But on the volume imbalance, you can see that we've delivered on the downside. So as far as I'm concerned, this should now act as resistance, and the midpoint of that will give us a nice place where I'd expect the high of tomorrow to get formed. So let's go back down to the 4 hour, and we're going to remove some things just to clean it up a bit. Don't want to see that. Now that this south side is taken out, we can grey that out just so that we can acknowledge that this is a south side level, and then this is where I'm looking for price to trade down into moving into tomorrow. So here on the hourly, you'll see I've got my daily dividers, and you'll see that price is slightly retraced, pretty classic price action. And then again, this is that volume imbalance, remember. And as far as I'm concerned, if we were to remain bearish, as in if we are going to continue to trade down into this weekly fair value gap, I want to see price respect this midpoint. So yes, price can rally above there. However, it doesn't have to. We might find that price just continues to consolidate and rolls straight into the new day, and then into the south side. But we do have high impact news in terms of the Fed Powell speech tomorrow, and I know that tends to just, hold price. Generally speaking, I'm not really expecting much to happen until Wednesday, so that's something to take into account. But nonetheless, I'm looking at this to be the highest I want price to trade for me to remain confident in my continued bias, and then I'm looking for us to start trying to fill this fair value gap basically. And then you can see there's even a gap here on the hourly below this low, which looks quite juicy to me. That price we want to try and reach down into. So let's get that other fair value gap on the hourly marked out as well, just so that if we do find that price is willing to or ready to trade down into here, we get an idea as to where it may be trying to fill specifically. So I'm going to make this a deeper blue, and then again, this is the highest I want to see price trade tomorrow. It can trade higher, and obviously we have a range now between this high and this low. But what you'll find is that it's common that price will want to just hang around equilibrium, which is what we're seeing right now. So that's why I doubt price will need to rally much more. And if it did get too deep into it, it probably means that we won't see much movement until the Wednesday. So that's just something to take into account. So let's go to the 15 minutes just to see if we can find anything else. I don't think there's much. Again, just kind of just wandering around here. Here was the change in this, here was the clear break, this low, which kind of acts like a breaker. But again, I doubt price is going to be able to reach all the way up there. Ideally it doesn't. It can. I'll make this orange just in case it does, but my point is I want to see continued weakness. So that means this gap between this low and this high, I want to see it get left open ideally, because that will act as a breakaway gap, and that will be supporting our bias of wanting to see dollar continue to roll over to the downside. So yeah, interesting day nonetheless. And let's now dive straight into GBP USD. And you can see that GBP hit our target absolutely gorgeously as well. Let's go to the daily and take a closer look. And we had a large up day, and remember GBP, I was a little bit more confused on GBP because it felt like GBP was very weak, and I was saying how there's potential for price to want to go into the south side, but you can see that we just traded below Friday's low just about, and then had a large expansion to the upside. Now this large expansion, remember in yesterday's video I spoke about divergence, and I was saying that either GBP is going to have to do some catching up, or Euro and dollar are going to, and we can see here that GBP is the one that had to catch up, and that's why we had such a large expansion, for it to get back in line with what Euro is doing, etc. So that was interesting to see. And then on the weekly, again, this is the fair value gap I spoke about, saying that I want to see price potentially trade up into that, and we've already tapped into it now. So now I'm looking to see if we can reach into that midpoint. So again, if you haven't watched yesterday's video, do go check it out, guys, because it will make today look a lot more sensible. And then you can see here we do have a level of a breaker. So we have a low, we have a high, we have a lower low, and then we have expansion to the upside. So now I'm looking at this last high as where the change in the state happened, change in the state of delivery. So if price does manage to pull all the way back down into this, I'd expect it to act quite sensitively so that price can carry on rallying into our ideal target. But ideally it doesn't even come all the way down there. Again, I'm happy if we just carry on seeing strength and us rallying into the premium. This gap right here I want to see get left open, especially as it's in line with this break, with this rejection block I've spoken about. So that's just something to take into account. But let's go to the 15-minute, and I'm actually, let's go to the hourly, and I will get the daily dividers up just so that we can see this more clearly. So we have Monday, and then we have Tuesday tomorrow with that power speech. Again, like I said, I'm not really a fan of the power speech just because it's not really a strong time to be trading, just because it's a little bit stagnant, price tends to be, and then you'll see Wednesday you'll see a lot of movement. So that's just something to take into account. But nonetheless, I'm looking at the way this bullish order block has formed, and ideally that can hold price. That would be nice if it does, and that should help us stay bullish moving into that Wednesday, because we might find that price doesn't move much on Wednesday. It might not even take out that Monday high, and if it doesn't, it will likely stay in this range between this low right here and this high. And if that's the case, then Wednesday is when we want to start looking for more setups. So that's something to take into account. I'll make this red for now. And that will be the midpoint of this, will be the lowest I want to see price trade ideally, or price bounce off, so to speak, so that we can continue to get up into some kind of premium. And then we have a nice gap up here between this high and this low as a target if we are going to carry on rallying tomorrow. And we'll drop down to the 15-minute. Here's that bullish order block again. That should stay intact, as in it should be working. We have a fair value gap, we have a breaker to an extent, well, more like mitigation, but we can look at it as a breaker. And then what I'm saying is that if we tap into this, that's where I'd be wanting to look for buys. So as soon as price dips below that midnight opening price, that's where I'd want to be looking for potential longs to then run out that Monday high, depending on how it treats it. And obviously assuming that dollar does, like I said, respect the premium PDA raise we've marked out, which is up here, and then wants to roll over into the downside and continue trying to fill its attempted fair value gap. So that's everything on pound. We're going to finish up on Euro USD. And similarly again, Euro's just shy of hitting its target. Remember I was talking about this buy side liquidity. We just missed it, very short of it. So it's likely that price will come back for it. And when they leave price there like that, is what we call engineered liquidity, as in they've created that high intentionally, potentially with the pretense that they're going to try and run it later on in the week. So on dollar it's very similar, kind of similar, as in dollar's already taken out that low, and then GBP has taken out that high. So Euro's the only one which has failed to take out that high. So that's what I'm saying, like later on we might find that Euro needs to do some work and carry on rallying. So that's something to take into account. Let's go to the daily. You'll see that large update that we had today on Euro on Monday. Again, shy off that buy side liquidity, but I'm still looking for price to potentially trade into it. And then we do have a daily bullish order block all the way down here now. However, I'm not really expecting price to come anywhere near that. So if we go down to the 4 hour, you can see we have a mitigation level, which is going to be this high, and that would be more sensible for us to anticipate price creating a potential low. But again, ideally I don't want to see us drop too much. I do want to see continued rallying, and what I'm looking at is this bearish order block. So what we need to remember is that when we're on another side of the curve, as in if we're looking at this range between this high and this low, and you see that we're in the midst of a reversal, so to speak, I'm looking at the bearish order blocks, and they should now be acting as bullish order blocks. So if we look at this last up close candle and we drag that right through, as far as I'm concerned, that should now act as a bullish order block for us to be going long off the back off. Even though it was on the south side of the curve, we should be expecting accumulation to be forming within this range. So that's just something that we can that can help form our trades. And ideally, if we do find ourselves consolidating in here, we understand why, and we can already see that's kind of started to happen. You see our price is bouncing around here. I'm expecting that to continue moving into Wednesday. Ideally, we don't drop any lower than the mean threshold off the order block. If we do, it's not the end of the world. It just makes it harder for price to get out of there. However, ideally it doesn't, and that'll make trading much more easier, much more confident for us to then run those buy stops above here. So that's, yeah, something to look at. So yeah, that's going to be everything, guys. Don't forget to drop a like, drop a comment, smash subscribe, join the mailing list, join the Discord. All the links are in the description. Do check out yesterday's video if you haven't yet, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.